What is the upskis, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the GXGamerCast. We are on episode 62 of my little gaming show where once a week I have to ramble about video games, whether it's video games that I'm currently playing, games that I grew up with, top 10s. We got a versus series where I put up two gaming topics and they battle it out for supremacy. If you like video games, then there might be something here for you. And it is October, so we are doing the spooky thing because that's what we do. That's what everyone does in October, and it's a lot of fun. So we are continuing on with the spooky theme of October, and yes, the mystery horror game that I was playing this month was Dead Space 2, and this technically will be falling under the Retro Backlog series because this is a game that I have owned for a very, very long time, like maybe a year or two after it came out. I grabbed this game up dirt cheap, and I just never played it until I was thinking about what game I wanted to play this month for Halloween, and I was like, oh, I really am craving some Dead Space. And I was going to maybe play the remake, and then I was like, man, I've never played Dead Space 2, owned it forever, and then bam, that was it. That was the game I was going to play. And what a surprise it was. So we will be getting into the Dead Space 2 talk shortly, but before we get into it, let's talk about what I have been up to over the last week. And I always encourage you, the listener, let me know what you've been up to. You've been watching an awesome TV show, you can't stop watching it. Let me know what you've been watching, alright? And if you saw a really good movie, whether it's old or new or fucking 2 years old, it doesn't matter. Just don't spoil anything, just let me know. Was it a good watch or was it so bad it was good? I like those kind of watches too. And of course, let me know what kind of games you've been playing. There's so many damn games out there, and I love a good recommendation, and I love hearing what people are playing because everyone's different. I mean, every once in a while, you'll get those special games where everyone's kind of playing the same thing, but generally, I just love hearing what people are playing. So let me know, what you playing? You playing Starfield? You playing Baldur's Gate? What are you playing? As I'm going to let you know what I'm playing. So let's get into it. What I've been playing this last week or so, a lot of Dead Space 2. So I've been just kind of pounding away at Dead Space 2, and not forcefully. I actually had a tough time prying myself away from this game at times. So I was pleasantly playing a lot of Dead Space 2 over this last week, getting deep into Baldur's Gate 3. I'm getting deep into that story now, and oh yes, I am in love. I'm absolutely in love. It is going to be a very, very interesting conversation at the end of the year for my personal favorite game of this year. It is going to be a battle for sure. There's still some big hitters that I'm hoping I can get into the mix before we get to the end game. But yeah, so far, Tears of the Kingdom and Baldur's Gate 3 are definitely going to be contenders for my favorite game. I have no idea yet who's going to take it. Too early to say. There's still a lot of Baldur's Gate, but playing a lot of Baldur's Gate, really, really fun game. Diving into a little bit of Castlevania Advanced Collection, so I'm playing the first game in that series. Just dipped my toe into it and really, really liking it. Music is incredible, and the only problem is I'm lost as hell, have no idea what's going on. Kind of the trope of those games. It is a straight-up Metroidvania, but it is really, really good so far, and Game Boy Advance I pretty much missed out on, so this is one of the more popular, well-known, better games of the Game Boy Advance, so I'm hoping I can get back into it, and regardless, I am enjoying it, just have no idea what I'm doing with it, and no idea where I'm going, and I've been still playing Final Fantasy Theater Rhythm. I've kind of gotten a second win on that game, big time, just putting in a lot of time trying to pound out those final challenges. Every song has like a little challenge, and I'm just trying to clean all those up, and basically just going through the whole entire game again with leveling up the part. It's an amazing little game. God damn, I'm just going to keep playing that, and that's pretty much all I've been playing this week in terms of TV shows. We got quite a bit here, so I dived into Ahsoka, the Disney Star Wars show. It was solid. And now I'm gonna have to rewatch a few of the episodes because I might have been in and out on a couple of them, but it was solid. Like, I liked it, but I'm definitely gassed on the whole Star Wars stuff. I've watched all the shows now. I've seen them all. And they're all, like, for me personally, like, nothing hit as hard as Mando Season 1. And, I think they're fine. They're not, like, I don't think they're must-watch or anything, but if you're a Star Wars fan, and I'm a pretty big Star Wars fan, they're definitely enjoyable. There's a lot to enjoy about it, but it's getting a little bit stale, but I still enjoyed Ahsoka. I thought she was really cool and a solid one, but I'm going to have to give it a second rewatch. Now, the show that really took me over this week was Cyberpunk Edge Runners. Holy shit. Wow, this show was awesome. I'm not done it yet. I still have a couple more episodes, but wow, did it ever suck me in. I definitely am on the verge of an anime kick or something right now. You know, I'm watching some Studio Ghibli. My sister was showing me some anime shows, and I dived into the Cyberpunk, and because I've been hearing nothing but great things. The Cyberpunk DLC just came out. I have re-downloaded Cyberpunk. I'm going to dive back into that game and see if I can get back into it. I might be purchasing this DLC because, again, I've been hearing nothing but great things. But Edge Runners, wow, on Netflix, this show is excellent. Wow, super over-the-top, violent, love it. It is, I would say, one of the surprise hits for me. I was not expecting to enjoy it so much, and a perfect timing with the DLC coming out. I definitely got me in the mood for some cyberpunkin', and I would recommend this show. Super duper easy watch. I crushed like 6 or 7 episodes, and they're like 20-minute episodes, so it's really good watch. So I highly recommend Edge Runners on Netflix. That shit was fantastic. My wife and I were watching a little bit of Superstore as well, and a really fucking pretty damn good show. We watched a handful of episodes. We're looking for something a little bit funny. We thought about maybe going back down, one of the old rabbit holes, maybe rewatch The Office for the 100th time, maybe Community rewatch, something like that. And we said, let's try Superstore. I worked in a grocery store, and it's pretty hammer on the nail or whatever the fuck, you know what I'm saying? It is not bad. It is pretty freaking good. So we'll be good show to have when you got a little bit of time to waste, something on the background. But yeah, not bad. Superstore, pretty all right. And then I watched a movie, and it had to be a horror-ish movie because, October, Halloween. I watched Totally Killer. This one was on Amazon Prime, and damn, yes, what a surprise. Oh man, this movie was fucking really good. Love the premise of this movie. I'm not going to give away too much, but it's kind of a classic horror slasher flick with a good mix of comedy in there, some good laughs, really smart, well-written movie. I would say, like, maybe a little bit of Halloween mixed with Back to the Future a little bit. So if that kind of piques your interest, give Totally Killer a check, man. It was a really good movie. I was my wife and I watched the trailer, and I was like, oh fuck, that sounds awesome, looks awesome, and it was awesome. The acting was good, it was funny, it was kind of a classic, good old-fashioned slasher horror with a good twist on it. Yes, very much so enjoyed it. I would borderline give that like an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed that movie. So I would recommend that one. It's a really good Halloween watch. So yeah, that's everything that I've been up to over the last week. So again, let me know what you've been up to, and if you've seen any really scary movies. I guarantee you whatever you think is scary won't scare me. So try your best, send me your scariest movies, and I'll try and watch them and see if you can scare me or not. Alright, so let's get scared video game wise. Let's talk about Dead Space 2. Dead Space. Oh, it's been a while since I played Dead Space. Honestly, I have not played Dead Space since probably like 2012 or something. And you know, the first Dead Space I absolutely loved. It was one of those horror games that was so good. I got over myself, got over my fears, and beat that game because it was just a blast. And I think it was a one of those surprise hits. You know, I remember, oh my goodness, the commercials for the first Dead Space were really good, and that Twinkle Twinkle Little Star commercial was like, oh god, that game looks really terrifying. And when I played it, yes, absolutely terrified me, but whew, so we got Dead Space 2. Now, this one doesn't get talked about very often, and I bought this game, like I said in the intro, I bought this game and proceeded to not play it for like 10 years. So the disrespect is, you know, my bad to Dead Space 2. And I remember when Dead Space 2 came out, it was very well received. Last I checked, I think it had like an 88 or an 89 on Metacritic. So this game was not fucking around when it came out. And, you know, I was very interested in it, but I definitely didn't have the motor for horror games that I'm definitely doing better now. Like this, I did not too bad with Dead Space 2. I was a little bit surprised, so I've definitely gotten better with horror games. I by far still have a very long way to go before I call myself a horror game veteran or anything like that. There's still a ton of horror games that I'm like, nope, not happening, but I can fuck around with some Resident Evil and Dead Space level horror games. Not with ease, I still get terrified, but you know, I can get through them. So yeah, Dead Space 2 comes out. It had some pretty good praise. The thing that I remember most vividly about Dead Space 2 when that game came out was the eye stuff. There was a lot of eye stuff going on with Dead Space. I remember the trailers and stuff with Isaac struggling with a lot of needles in and around his eye. So yes, that is in this game. Now, thankfully, the trailers kind of showed off most of the eye stuff. But yeah, there's eye stuff in this game. I'm not going to say that was the sole entire reason that I stayed away from Dead Space 2. Mostly because the first one just really scared the hell out of me. I was pretty tapped out. And yeah, it's taken me a long time, I guess, to get that itch for Dead Space 2. But when I started playing this game, oh my goodness, it all came back to me and I felt very comfortable right away. That is something that this game does very well. I mean, it builds off of the bones of Dead Space 1, gameplay-wise, mechanic-wise, very well. Like, literally within the first, I think, 10, 12, 15 minutes of the game, I was already like, oh, this is a lot of fun. This is pretty neat. Because we'll just get into the gameplay, I guess, but you get the cool telekinetic powers where you can just grab onto things and like random things around furniture, boxes, limbs, you know, skulls, you know, blood and pus sacks, that kind of stuff. Normal stuff, at least in Dead Space terms. It's pretty normal. But yeah, whipping around that stuff, you know, picking up and throwing body parts at the necromorphs. Pretty great. But hold on now. I think I should probably rewind a little bit. Here. Let's kind of cover the basics of what Dead Space is. Well, Dead Space, in case you don't know, it's a survival horror game similar to the Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6. Your third person, over-the-shoulder style survivor horror game, and this takes place in space, hence the name Dead Space. So you're in space, you're playing as Isaac Clarke, and you know, I'll put my beef out here with Isaac Clarke right now. I don't like Isaac Clarke in Dead Space 2. I much preferred Isaac Clarke in Dead Space 1. He was a silent protagonist. He didn't talk. He was just, you didn't see his face until a very late point in the game. He was basically an unknown, and that just added so much to the atmosphere and the horror of that game. The only thing that you hear Isaac say in the first game is just shrieks of horror and pain. That is about it. I don't think he even speaks a word in that game. So I personally really love that, and I know it's really difficult to, you know, go into a second game. And I understand what they wanted to do. You want to try and build some character around this guy. Like, do you really want to go into a second game and still not really have anything to go off of this guy? which I completely understand. I just personally, they just went for that generic of that time, like, protagonist Xbox 360, like, oh, I'm tough and rugged. I do everything by myself and on my own for everybody and that kind of thing. So you kind of fell into that generic character role for me, and that comes off very quickly. Like, it's the mask is off, he's talking, and yeah, I didn't like the voice actor. Like, the performance was fine, it's just the voice I felt like didn't really go with Isaac for me personally. I don't know, maybe I'm a simple bitch. I much preferred Isaac when he didn't say anything. So that's really it with Isaac. I mean, he looks cool. I mean, that Dead Space suit, super iconic, looks so freaking awesome. I love the look of the Dead Space suit. Isaac himself he's whatever. But yeah, so you're doing the third person action thing. You got some scares along the way, that is for sure. Now, I am going to say flat out that Dead Space 2 was not as scary as Dead Space 1, and that's basically because I've already played Dead Space 1, so I'm kind of aware of the mechanics, kind of the way that Dead Space works and how they want to scare you. I'm aware of some of their tricks, so it still scared me. We'll talk about some of the good scares throughout this game, but it definitely didn't hit the levels of Dead Space 1, and I can't really knock it too much for that because it's really hard to nail it the way that the first game does, especially if you're aware of it. Now, if someone came fresh and they've never played Dead Space 1, they went straight into Dead Space 2, I would imagine this game would be quite terrifying. I would definitely think that, because the opening sequence, very similar to when I talked about Resident Evil 5 last week, kind of a similar opening to what they did in Dead Space 1, where you're kind of fucked and you just kind of get thrown into a situation with like no real way of defending yourself, and they just send enemies at you and you just gotta run for your life, and they make it a very tight butthole situation at the beginning of the game. So they did a good job with that. Now, like I said, Dead Space, for some reason, that's just one of those games, that one's really lodged in my brain. Probably because I did a Let's Play of it on my YouTube channel. You can go check it out, GamerGX videos. Now, it was done in like 2012 or whatever, so the audio quality and video quality is not great, but the effort is there, okay? So there you go. If you want to watch it, go ahead. I would appreciate it. Anyway, so they do a similar opening in Dead Space 2 that they did to 1, which was fine. It was a good, solid opening, but it just didn't hit the same way with me. I was kind of like, oh, okay, like, oh, this is familiar, but it was a good way to get me into the game. Like I said, this game grabbed me fast. I was just like, so the gameplay is tight. We're talking about that, but immediately I was kind of like, fuck, this game looks good. Damn, does this game look good. Now, I grew up on, before HD and all that stuff. So when it comes to games that are, 360 and onward, I still think they look gorgeous to me. Like a 360 game, if I popped in Gears of War OG 360, I still think that game looks spectacular. Yes, the remake of it looks better, but I could still fuck around with original Gears of War any day. And this game, wow, it is nice looking, man. Nice looking game. Now, Dead Space 1 was a gorgeous game. Probably one of the better looking games of that generation. And yes, they get to continue on with that. Like I said, they get to build off of a pretty damn good structure in Dead Space 1. That game was a very well made game already. And they make it a little bit tighter here in Dead Space 2, but the graphics are a little bit, I don't know if I still think Dead Space 1 was a little bit more like gross, a little more grimy. Dead Space 2, I think, maybe has a little bit better lighting. They don't shy away from lighter things, kind of like in Resident Evil 5, where they're like, okay, we can have some brighter areas, but regardless, both the games are fantastic looking. Dead Space 2, wow, I was blown away. I was like, immediately looks very good. The lighting is just like, I was like, wow, this looks spectacular. Like, this is a really good looking game still. Gives you that really good creepy atmosphere. Now, just from my memory of Dead Space 1, I just felt like it just felt a little bit more gross in Dead Space 1. Now, again, that is it's a new IP at the time. Everything's new and probably a little bit scarier, but things look gross in Dead Space 2. The necromorphs, the scary creatures of Dead Space, the necromorphs, they're terrifying looking, they're gross looking. It's got that wet, slimy look that is of that time. It looks great. And the animations are good. I mean, Isaac moves around good. The animations of the creatures are quite nice. Now, they don't have the movements, obviously, that on the PS4 level or the PS5 level, obviously, but they move around good. They're fast, they're animated well, they're creepy looking, they're unsettling, but they don't have the fluidity of that we are spoiled with today. But it still does the job quite good. And damn, bro, those death animations. I will admit, I let myself get killed by some of the creatures, especially some of the more interesting looking creatures, I will say. And I let some of them, because I just know the death animations in Dead Space are so over the top, so violent, so gruesome, and yeah, they're still here. It's almost as exciting. Well, I wouldn't put it on the level of fatalities in Mortal Kombat on that level of excitement, but I get pretty excited about the death scenes in Dead Space, because like I said, they're absolutely gruesome. You're getting eviscerated, your head's getting peeled back, your spine's getting ripped out, you're getting literally just Exodia obliterated, your limbs are all over the place. It's glorious, and it still looks great. I played it on my Xbox Series S, and it said that it had a FPS boost. So, I mean, if I personally am not the type of gamer that generally notices it, but yeah, it ran smooth as butter, man. It really, really did. It was smooth, no jank, no frame rate issues. It ran fantastically, no bugs, nothing like that. So it ran like butter. It was really, really nice. I was I was just like, wow, because I'm playing PS5 games right now, and I was like, there really wasn't a huge noticeable difference. Like, I was totally fine with the way that this game looked. Really, really good. And like I said, man, those necromorphs, they're terrifying. So there's a few familiar faces, let's say, that I remember from the first game. But there are definitely, I might be wrong, but some of these new ones, man, holy fuck, did they ever creep me out. So right away, I mean, you got your typical necromorphs. They're scary. They got their kind of like praying mantis-y looking things. They're disgusting. They're very unpleasant to look at, and they're gross. They move fast. They're not like a zombie, brains, and they're walking slow at you. No, these things bolt at you, they fly at you, they move at you in all variety of terrifying ways. And the one that got me early, that I got the nope, like I saw that thing, I said, no fucking way, we serious? And they got these like child-like things. Now these things, they have a couple they're ones that look like little babies. They're literally just little infants, and they have like fucking bomb sacks on their back. They're just unpleasant. They're just kind of annoying. But then they have these like kind of like, I don't know, 4-year-old, 5-year-old like necromorphs, and they're very childlike. They're not super gruesome. They're almost just like pale, big-headed children, and that was a nope. That was an absolute nope. Those fucking things came out. I was like, oh god. And there are always so many of them. There's always a fucking classroom of these fucking things when they show up. Be 8-9 of them running at you at the same time, and they just jump all over you. They swarm you, and yeah, I'd let them kill me, and it is fucking gruesome. They absolutely tear you to shreds, and it's gross, and they shriek like children. It's extremely unpleasant. So those things were really, really not cool. I didn't like them, and they make an appearance in a later part of the game that kind of, we'll get there when we get there, but yeah, they're all throughout this game, and pretty much every time they showed up, there's just so damn many of them. There's just too many at times that I'd have to deal with them, so those things were pretty annoying. Now, the ones this was probably the most terrifying one in the whole entire game for me personally. I don't know what the fuck they were called. I should probably have looked up the names for some of these things, but they like hide around corners, like, and oh my god, man, it's just every room that these things are in, it's terrifying. These big rooms with like a lot of little little nooks and crannies, and these things literally, like, you can hear them hooping and calling around the room and stuff, and you literally see them like running around, you're like, oh god, what was that? And it's like literally having, like, oh god, what the hell was that? What the hell was that? And then you see them like pop their fucking head around the corner, man, and then they just sprint around the corner at you full tilt, and they're so freaking fast, and they're pretty strong, so you gotta be weary of them, you gotta slow them down, and oh my god, so those things were absolutely terrifying. So those are kind of the early ones that really, really got me. That, I don't know what the hell those things called. They're almost like witches kind of looking thing. They're skinny and lanky and tall and fast. Oh, they're fast. I hate them so much. So that thing was an absolute nope. So a little bit of the necromorph talk. Let's talk about some of the gameplay. So it is similar to Resident Evil with the third-person over-the-shoulder stuff. You got your weapons, and the weapons are fantastic. We'll talk about some of these weapons. You start out with your, like, some familiar faces here. When I got some of these weapons, I was like, oh, hello, baby. You remember me? It's like, oh, yeah. The plasma cutter, kind of your reliable kind of pistol. It's a pistol, but it's nice and reliable. Every weapon has a secondary kind of firing option. This one's very simple. It'll just go from horizontal shooting to vertical shooting. But the big thing about Dead Space is the dismemberment of your enemies. So they don't push it as hard as they did in the first game. Like the first game, there's like, oh, this buzzsaw, I wonder what this could do, and like a little video of like people dismembering stuff. It's a little bit more known at this point in Dead Space 2, but dismemberment is still a big part of this game, and you can rip off all the limbs, the legs, the arms, the heads, and it's great. It really, it's strategic to your gameplay. If you got a really fast enemy, you're going to want to shoot out its legs to slow it down, and yeah, that's not going to stop them, because they're still going to start dragging themselves around with their arms. You can shoot those off too. It's awesome. I love the dismemberment of this game. It's something that it does that Resident Evil doesn't do. They don't have this level of dismemberment, and like, I know you can shoot the legs of the zombies in Resident Evil and they go down, but Dead Space takes it, it's more of an emphasis, there you go, that's a tough one, in Dead Space, to shoot the limbs, remove the limbs. That's, oh fuck yeah, and it's really, really good. So that's kind of the dealio with the vertical and horizontal. If you do it horizontal, it's easier to take out the legs and stuff. So you got old reliable plasma pistol, love it. The line gun, I mean, come on, I love this thing. Shoots a big old line of fucking energy, and if you shoot it right, you line up the enemies nice in a row, you could take out a nice wall of enemies with one well-placed shot. Love that gun. The Ripper, I love this thing so much because it is your dismemberment weapon. It is literally a fucking blade, a spinning blade that is just out there. You can shoot a blade off as a secondary fire, and you can just go to town. Like, I love that this was a great weapon for those little children-looking motherfuckers. You get them kind of grouped around you, and you just go ying, 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 ying. You start taking out all their legs. It's really satisfying. I really like the Ripper. The only thing that I wish that they would have added for a upgrade for the Ripper. You can upgrade all the weapons. They have a upgrade tree. But regardless, I wish that you were able to increase the length of the blade, like how far it shoots out. I wish you could increase that, because that would have it might have made it too damn powerful. That might have been the thing, because some people might think that the Ripper sucks, but oh damn, you upgraded a little bit. It got me out of a lot of pretty bad binds, man. Like, if you could just take out a bunch of legs, it knocks them all down, and it is sometimes just the right amount of time to get out of a sticky situation and regroup, maybe for fuck's sakes reload. Oh my god, man. If you haven't played Dead Space 2 and you're planning on playing it, okay, let me give you a little tip right here. So if you're upgrading weapons, I know damage is nice to have and everything, but you might want to focus in and invest some of your power nodes, the upgrade things, into reload speeds and capacity. Because holy fuck, man, how many times was I caught with my freaking pants down, reloading my weapons, running out of ammo? I mean, I really pushed hard on damage, and like, yeah, it helps, but oh man, so many times, way more times than I would like to recount, I got caught with no ammo in my weapons. So just a little tidbit there. If you're looking, invest in that reload time. It could save your life. I will say I died a lot in this game. I died a lot in Dead Space. It wasn't necessarily hard. I just feel like I was pretty bad at this game. Maybe I was rushing it a little bit. Maybe a little cocky. I know this game. I know what I'm doing in Dead Space land. I know what's up. I died a lot. I was pretty bad at this game. But yeah, man. Weapon, a lot of fun. Upgrades are a little bit annoying just because, like I said, you got that kind of tree for upgrades, but they're like in between every upgrade, there'll be like an empty node, and you have to waste a power node on it so you can get to the next thing. I don't like that. I wish they would get, I just don't feel that's necessary. It kind of just, they're just doing that to elongate the game to make you want to do more playthroughs. I get it. I don't like having something so precious just being wasted on an empty slot. Doesn't feel good. For a lot of it, I was just I really focused in a lot of my points on my power suit so I can have a lot of defense, because like I said, I was dying a lot, so I was trying to up my defense, but that didn't really help. Anyway, the weapon, really fun to have them upgraded. I just don't like the whole upgrading system. It's just not as satisfying as I'd like it to be. You got the flamethrower. That's a standard weapon, good up close. The pulse rifle, that was one I know I did not like in Dead Space 1. Just your standard rifle. It's pretty weak. It can, it can help you in some binds. But I never really liked the pulse rifle all that much. Now there's some new weapons here. I feel like all of these are new. You got the javelin, which is pretty neat. It's a good little weapon. It shoots like a harpoon. It's really satisfying to use. A little difficult because you got to nail your shot, and if you miss, it's kind of slow, but it's secondary fire. You can electrify the harpoon, and it'll electrify all the enemies. Pretty good. I used it quite a bit. The detonator was nice at times, but you kind of have to know the situation you're getting into before you can really use it. So this thing just plants little mines down, and it'll have a laser, and if enemies touch the laser, boom, they go explodey. And yeah, it got me out of some really tough spots. Like I remember there was kind of this classroom stage area, and it was just filled to the brim with those little toddler motherfuckers. And I had to use this detonator, and it basically got me out of it because I had so little ammo. All I had left was this detonator stuff. And yeah, it can be useful. You can plant them on the walls to make traps, but this is something I would imagine on playthrough number 2 and 3, when you know the game a little bit better, the detonator could be a lot of fun. But yeah, I did have some good uses with it. You can just direct impact with them. Once I found out you could do that, it was I got a lot more use out of the detonator. Now the Seeker, oh my god, I don't know what was going on with this weapon. Just your kind of standard sniper rifle. It's got good power. It's slow as fuck, so slow. Reload takes forever. And for some reason, the game just would not stop giving me so much ammo for this thing. I checked, I had 56 bullets for this fucking thing. I was like, holy fuck. So I really got stuck kind of having to use it because I just, at some points, all I had was Seeker ammo. And, yeah, it's good when things are far away, but once they get up close and you shot your four bullets and it takes 20 seconds to reload it, oh my god, this thing really put me in some tough spots at times, but, it's a fine sniper weapon. It's just, fuck, man, I wish they would not stop giving me so much ammo for it. Force gun was pretty cool. It's, you can kind of, charge it up, it shoots a blast of telekinetic energy, and it blasts anything around you. It does pretty good damage, it's definitely good against those little fucking baby thingies. That definitely helped out. I think this is the one that does the alternate fire where you shoot it down into the ground and it kind of just force pushes everything away. That was really useful for the final boss fight. I'll just throw that out there right now. And then the contact beam was nice. Very powerful, slow shooting weapon. Good for the bosses and the stronger enemies for sure. So there's a good amount of weapons in this game. I liked it. This is another thing that I liked. I like about Dead Space. I mean, lots of fun weapons. And it's in space. I think it probably takes place in the future. So they're higher tech weaponry. They're not your standard just, oh, here's the pistol. Oh, and the best weapon that you have in this game by far is your foot. Oh my god, you stomp on everything in this game. It's especially in your first playthrough when you're trying to conserve your ammo a little bit. the stomp, man. Oh, and the stomp is like even better in Dead Space 2. They let you like really just mash that stomp button and you just go It's good. And Isaac is like, fuck you, motherfucker. I loved stomping enemies in Dead Space. Oh my goodness. So satisfying. Really good. I wish the melee was better. Now, your stomp is fantastic. Your melee, you just swing like a wild man. Reckless abandonment really leaves you open. Isaac clearly didn't go to any sort of boxing classes, but he knows how to stomp a mud hole. So I really, really enjoyed the stomp in Dead Space. Some of the other things you're doing in terms of the gameplay. So like I said, you got that telekinetic ability. You can pick up objects and throw them around. They'll have, your classic explosive barrels. You can pick them up and throw them. And then the other thing that they have, this isn't new, but, if you're familiar with Dead Space, you might remember stasis. Stasis is fucking useful as all holy hell, so you can use this to slow down enemies. So you got fucking Cocksuck McGee over here, the scorpion-looking motherfucker, for example. This guy, he's got no legs, so you can't take out his legs to slow him down, because he doesn't have any. It's turned into some sort of scorpion-like stinger thing. And he kind of runs around on his hands, and he jumps around like a psychopath. He is flying around all over the place. And yes, you could just sit there and like use your force, and you slow him down for a few seconds or whatever, 10, 15 seconds. You can upgrade your stasis and make it last longer. I would recommend you do that, because there are some enemies you really want to keep slowed down for a while, because things can get very hectic. But stasis is awesome. So you can slow down the enemies. They'll have the odd environment thing, like there might be a door that's going out of control and it won't stop closing and slamming really fast, so you slow it down, you can move through it. So that's cool. It's back. I enjoyed it. It really got me out of some awful situations. I would admit I kind of forgot about it at certain times. I'm like, should have used my stasis. Oh, god damn it. They have the 0G sections are back in this game. They're even better now in Dead Space 2. So in Dead Space 1, you would get to the 0G sections, no gravity, so you can kind of float around. You could definitely float around in Dead Space 2. So from what I can remember, in Dead Space 1, you kind of had to like plant yourself on the ground and then like aim, and then it would like launch you off to the next platform. In Dead Space 2, they give you free reign. You got like a little jetpack thing on your boots or whatever, and you can just float around in the room wherever you want to go. It is really crisp, really tight. I was like, oh fuck yeah, this is fantastic. Works really well. Now, admittedly, similar to, I imagine, how it would be in actual zero gravity, it can get a little disorienting. Like if you're in the room, big square cube room or whatever with like 4 doors, and maybe you're upside down a little bit, you can get turned around a little bit. Not really much of a complaint. It was really fun. It was really satisfying floating around and shit like that. And so those were improved over Dead Space 1 for sure. That was one of the more noticeable changes that I could notice from Dead Space 1 to 2. And the waypoint system. Oh my goodness. Speaking of waypoint, oh my god, I love the waypoint system in Dead Space 1. Yeah, you press down on the thumbstick and it just shoots out a little beam, tells you exactly where to go. But it also encourages exploration, because it'll be like you'll be at a fork in the road. It's like, go left, and you're like, well fuck, look at right. You look down the right path and you see there's an ammo crate down there, or maybe a power node. You're like, oh. So they do that very well. It's like, okay, like here's my clear path. If you want to follow the clear path, absolutely, you can get through the game doing that. It'll guide you along perfectly, but it also encourages exploration, because you have an exact waypoint on the way back. I never got lost. You can't get lost in Dead Space. I don't think it can happen. And they slightly improved on the waypoint system, and so now instead of just your objective, you can set it to a workbench. So if you want to go make some upgrades, it'll show you how to get to your nearest workbench. If you want to try and find a store, it'll show you how to get to the store. So another, boom, cherry on top of an already excellent system. So boom, I think they pretty much perfected it. Like, I absolutely love it. Instead of going through menus, looking at a map, no, you just press down. It's seamless. You don't have any menus. It's awesome. I absolutely love it. The only thing that one thing that they can do for it to make it perfect is allow me to still move while I have my waypoint going. If I could still walk around, that would be mint. And that's the other thing that Dead Space 2, I can't remember 100% if Dead Space 1 allowed you to run and shoot, but you can do that 100% in Dead Space 2. It is so crisp. You can run backwards and shoot. You can run forward, sideways, spin around. The only thing that Dead Space is missing that I would have loved is that quick turnaround button. If I could just, hit RB and A and I boom, 180 instantly and I can run away, that would have been perfect. They didn't have that, but you can run backwards. You can run and reload. It's perfect. Yes. Like, I understand how other survival horror games won't do it because it adds that element of fear. It's like, oh fuck, I have to make a decision. Do I want to run or do I want to shoot? But in Dead Space, the enemies are so fast and all over the fucking place. You really, if they didn't have that, it would be a problem if you couldn't run and shoot and stuff. So thank God they got that in Dead Space 2. They nailed that. So that is tight as fuck. We talked about the upgrades and all that stuff. So let's get back to some of the good stuff. Let's talk about some scary stuff. So I got a handful of good scares here. I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm going to be pretty vague about the situations, but I kind of got them scored here at a 10 on a scale of 1 to holy shit scares. But the opening sequence, like I said, it was solid. You're literally strapped in a straitjacket, so you literally have nothing. You have no use of your hands, and there's fucking necromorphs all over the place, explosions, people freaking out, alarms going off. It's carnage, and it was rather scary. I gave that a solid 5 out of 10 because I clearly saw that they were going for what Dead Space 1 was doing, and Dead Space 1, holy fuck, man. Like, when you're running and you get to the elevator and that one necromorph, like, rips the door back open, I fucking shit my pants 3 times. And I didn't shit my pants in Dead Space 2 right here, but a solid scare to start off the game. Like, you're definitely on your heels a little bit right away. There's just so many, like, handfuls. There a good handful of just normal, like, I'm gonna call them kind of cheap scares. I would say 5 to 10 solid scares I got were because I was wearing headphones and it was just a loud sound. So those are cheap scares. I don't like that. That's just kind of unfair. Like, if you just come up behind me and yell in my ear, I'm gonna fucking jolt and be, not necessarily scared. It's just kind of a reaction. So they have those scares in there, but there are definitely some, like, well set up scares. So the thing that Dead Space 1 did that kind of makes it a masterpiece is how they set up their scares so well. They'll send you through a couple empty rooms and you're like, oh fuck, something's going down here for sure. And then nothing goes down and then you think you're safe and bam, it hits you. So they do that, and they got me pretty good again. Now, I thought I knew this trick already because they got me so many times with it in Dead Space 1, and, I went through a whole bunch of, like, I think it was like 3 or 4 rooms, 3 or 4 corridors, and it just, the sounds were out of control. The fucking things are going on. I'm like, when is it going to happen? When is it going to jump out at me? And just when I thought I was safe, I open up the door and there's a big bridge and bam, I get absolutely terrified. That was an 8.5 out of 10 scare. I was like, oh, you sons of bitches. That was not cool. They had a good elevator scare as well. I hate the elevators in Dead Space. Fucking, you look up and like, they have the vent and I'm pretty sure on all the elevators you can shoot the vent and you can, it'll be open. You're like, oh, something's coming out of there. And just when you think, okay, nothing's coming out, something comes out, 8 out of 10 scare. That's an 8 out of 10 scare, Dead Space 2. They got me good in the elevator. Now, the one I was a little bit disappointed with, honestly, in Dead Space 2, they have these, like, hacking sequences. They're fine, I was really expecting a scare. Now they kind of do it. So the hacking, it's pretty simple. It's just it's kind of like a big circle, and you move the circle around, and you find the blue. Blue is good, red is bad. You got to do it 3 times, get 3 blues, you're in. So I thought for sure they would send a creature in behind you when you're doing the hacking. Didn't really happen. I think once it kind of happened, but you already knew. The whole point was to, anyway, it didn't really happen. Now, the one that really got me was, you got to travel through these, like, little mechanic tunnels. So you open up the wall, open up a thing in the wall, and you're crawling through these dark little tunnels. And I thought for sure something terrible was going to happen. And you know what? It never did. I'm sorry if I'm spoiling it, but there was like, I don't know, 7 or 8 of these little tunnels, and I thought for sure like something would explode, something would scare me. Never happened, but I don't know if they did that by design, but I was scared every time I went into one of those tunnels. So I'm going to give them props on that, but a little bit disappointed that nothing actually ever happened in those tunnels. I feel like maybe a little bit of a missed opportunity there, but it's fine. It's fine. Oh man, it was I think about halfway through the game or so. It was pretty late, but I ran into a familiar enemy that I remembered from Dead Space 1, and that dude absolutely terrified me. It's not the hunter, but he's this, the thing that he's like planted on the wall, and he's just making these awful wailing sounds, and he shoots out like little pods that will shoot you and stuff. And that dude, oh man, I remember that dude absolutely terrorized me in Dead Space 1, killed me so many times. Thankfully, there's not too many of them in Dead Space 2, but when I saw him, I was like, oh no, I was one of those, like, I guess I'll use the Leonardo DiCaprio pointing at the TV. It was kind of like, oh, I remember him, and I absolutely eviscerated him. I used my heavy power and absolutely destroyed that motherfucker, but I hated him. Familiar face I really didn't want to see. So, since I brought up the Hunter, now the Hunter is one of the most dreaded enemies in my lifetime from Dead Space 1. He is like the regenerating, can't kill him, constantly hunting you, always coming back for a little bit more of you in Dead Space 1. Now he makes a return here in Dead Space 2. Now I've read about this, I heard that he comes back, and I was expecting and waiting for it, and when it happened, I was like, okay, happens a little bit later than I was expecting. I feel like in Dead Space 1, that motherfucker's after you through most of the game. You see him multiple times. The Hunter in Dead Space 2, it was like a one-time, kind of like, he'll show up in one chapter, and it's kind of like 2 straight chapters that you're kind of dealing with it. And it was, scary looking, but it had nothing. Absolutely nothing to the Hunter in Dead Space 1. That guy haunts my dreams still. I can still see it. This one, it was fine. It was pretty much the exact same thing. Just didn't hit the same way. So I was a little bit let down with the Hunter, but it was fine. It definitely wasn't bad. It was still scary. It was still a tight butthole situation. I feel like this one was faster. Like, oh man, that motherfucker got going when he was up. Like, you take out its limbs, you take out all of the limbs, and when it gets back up, it's almost like fucking power speed walking at you. It was unsettling. I won't say that it wasn't scary, but it did not hit the same way that it did in Dead Space 1. That is for sure. So we gotta swing over to the sound design and I guess voice acting of this game. We already kind of touched on voice acting, I guess, when I was talking about Isaac, but there's a couple of other characters in this game that I'll mention. Strauss, man, this guy, he's like a psycho. He's losing his mind throughout the whole entire game, and it's just getting like worse and worse and worse as the game goes on. He is awful. I freaking hated him. He sucked. He was so annoying. It got so old so fast. Like the crazy ramblings that they always do. Nothing makes sense. It's so dumb. And I guess I'll mention the story right now. I didn't give one single slither of a shit about the story of this game. I was not following it whatsoever. Really had no idea what was going on. Like, that's kind of the one thing that I actually really liked about Dead Space, is that it was really seamless in its storytelling. Like, there's no fucking stop cutscenes. Like, there's really no pausing. Like, your inventory system is live. Like, it's just like a screen that pops up and like things are happening around you. Cutscenes are happening like organically around you. Screens are popping up. People are talking to you. And probably by far the best thing is the audio logs. You can walk around and listen to the audio logs. You can do other things and the audio is still playing. You can go into menus. That's great. Love all that stuff. But the story of Dead Space 2, I had no idea what was going on. I was not engaged with the character of Isaac Clarke anymore. Like, the aura of what he was in Dead Space 1 was gone at this point. It just, he immediately turned me off. Like, the second I got a gauge of his character in this game, I was like, okay, all right, whatever. And Strauss, he was a terrible character. I will give props to what's her name, Nicole Brennan. She was pretty good. Now she's a little bit stereotypical, generic, like, oh, I'm Australian, I'm a tough girl and stuff like that. But she was actually solid. Like I know it's but it's a good stereotype. Like I don't know, like cool, tough women. Like I was fine with it. It definitely was stereotypical, but she was my favorite character of the game, I think. Okay, so we'll touch on the eye stuff a little bit. Because I know it'll probably scare some people away from playing this game. The eye stuff wasn't that bad. There's definitely eye stuff going on. Needles in the eye is definitely a thing. That part of the game was just kind of annoying. Honestly, it just made no sense. Like, Isaac is just, like, they're trying to do an experiment to, like, fucking, I'm not gonna say save the world or anything, but like it's a thing that needs to be done and it's gonna suck, but he knows that it needs to be done and he trusts her and everything. So like you're just supposed to like sit still and fucking jab the needle in his eye, but Isaac like will not stop like jolting his eye around. And like if you would just sit still, please, that would be great. So yeah, that part it's whatever. Like the eye stuff, yeah, it's uncomfortable. It's kind of gross. It's pretty nasty. No one wants to see a needle going in someone's eye. It's pretty unnecessary, but yeah, they do it. There's definitely a little bit of eye theme with Dead Space 2. That's their gross out factor. That's their they give you the chills kind of thing. Yeah, it's effective. It worked. It definitely gave me the chills at times. So, yeah, that was fine. But Nicole Brennan, she was good. I liked the voice acting. I liked her performance. Again, the performances were all fine. Like, they were fine, solid performances. It's just the characters kind of suck in Dead Space 2. So, but the sound does not suck in Dead Space 2. The sound is probably one of the best things of Dead Space 1. It's so... I think what was the tagline of Dead Space 1? Like, nobody can hear you scream in space or something. And yeah, man, they really cash in on like less is more a little bit. Like there's definitely an abundance of sound, but they don't really have that music. Like when you're just kind of walking around and exploring areas and you're like, I don't know if like something's around, like the music is low, it's building, it's tense, and they kind of just let the atmosphere build and the silence make you feel uncomfortable. Silence is uncomforting for people. They're like, oh, I don't know about it. And man, the sound design in Dead Space is excellent from pretty much top to bottom. Like, the weapons sound awesome and they're blasty. The lasers sound good. The blood and guts are just so smushy and like all that grotesque sounds and stuff. They really nail that. That's fucking fantastic. And just the general sound, clanging and banging of metal in the ships, the creatures fucking shrieking in the distance, like you can hear them all around you. Now that might be with my headsets, being surround sound and stuff, but you'd be crazy not to play these games with a headset. Like you got to, man, you really do, or you're missing out. Like a good horror game is gonna have great sound design, so you gotta give them that and play it properly. You don't have to play it in the dark. Now I admit it, I played this in the dark. It's a lot easier now that it gets dark at like fucking 6 o'clock here in Canada, so it's been pretty easy to play it at nighttime, but it helps. It definitely does. But you get engrossed in that atmosphere big time. It draws you in, and it does a good job at, even when you, like, it makes you feel like you might be okay, and you're not okay. Like, there's something around, there's always something lurking. The sounds are great. I love the sounds of this game. Yeah, oh man, it's just really haunting. And the music is good when it needs to be. When you're in a big fight, when you get into crazy fucking gunfights, it's crazy, it's tense, it's like, hey, it's good. It hits the mark. I love the sound design in Dead Space. It hits for sure. It's excellent. So we'll finish off with the back end of this game that kind of got a little out of hand. So around chapter 13, there's 15 chapters in this game. Not a very long game either. I loved the length of this game. It took me, I think, just under 9 hours to beat this game. So not a long game. I love it. I think that's where, honestly, Resident Evil should be in and around, like that. I don't like when they push the 15-hour mark for Resident Evil. I feel like that's a little bit too long, but like 8 hours would be too short for Resident Evil. So I would like a 9 to 12 hour. That would be great. And Dead Space falls in and around there. I felt the length was fantastic. Now, the only thing that they didn't nail was the balancing towards the end of the game. Now, holy fuck, do they ever throw everything at you in those last 2 chapters? Jesus Christ, man. The difficulty spike got crazy. Now, I died a lot in this game. Now, I wasn't very good. I wasn't playing like overly conservative or anything like that. But Jesus, man, the final, like, there is a part that I got stuck in where you're just you're going through this like 3-tier room or whatever, and you're just trying to make your way down. And they literally send out, like, it must be like 15 to 20 pretty damn high power enemies. And there's one enemy in particular that they throw into almost every one of these big fights. Now, they have quite a few of these in Dead Space where you're just kind of, there's nothing, and then, big like 7 necromorph fight, big old fight. And then there's nothing, and then you kind of build up your resources again. Now, here, it was like that, but times 3. It was like fucking overload, way too many. But the one enemy that they kept throwing in all these was this acid-spitting fucking piece of shit necromorph. And he can get you from distance, and he's so accurate with it. He shoots you with the acid, it slows you down, it does good damage, like it just keeps hurting you because you're fucking covered in acid now, slows you down, which is not helpful at all. And yeah, they're just a real pain in the ass. They're strong. Like, you got to shoot their head off. That is the most helpful thing. That slows down their acid spraying. But they're just ruthless, man. And oh my god, they just throw so many of them at you at the end. And it wasn't even necessarily an ammo issue. It was just an overload issue. Like, at some point, you got to reload your goddamn weapon, and it was just too much. I get swarmed. I'd probably died in that single room probably 8 or 9 times alone. Like, it was a real struggle to get through that fucking room. I even tried to, cheese it a little bit, where I would open the door and kind of like hang out in the door frame, and they outsmarted me. They would just leave. They're like, nope. They just go into the fucking, in the walls, and they're like, nope. And I was like, oh, you son of a bitches. So yeah, they weren't fucking around. And then that's when they throw in the hunter as well, this unkillable motherfucker. So you got him running around after you as well. So the last 2 chapters, man, were a little bit like, I wouldn't say infuriating, but it was flustering. I was definitely getting flustered. I was like, holy shit. There was a couple times where I just said, nah, because that checkpoint was rough too. Like, I would get down to the second floor, the second wave of enemies, and the last one gets me, and you got to start all the way back. And I just, all right, I'm done for the night. Fuck that shit. I'm not going through that again. So that was definitely a problem there at the end. And then we get to the boss fight. So I feel like there were more boss fights in Dead Space 1. Now, I can't really recall boss fights really in this game. Now, they had like the brute fight where they had like the big necromorph, very similar to the one in Dead Space 1. Other than that, I really don't recall. They had this kind of like big flower thing, but it didn't feel like a boss fight. It wasn't that hard to take down. It wasn't that big of a situation. Oh, fuck. Before I go too far, back to the sound design. The 0G outside when you're in space, where the vacuum and there's like no sound. Beautiful. All right, back to the boss fight, not boss fight. So there's not really that much going on. They have the hunter, but again, doesn't feel all that much like a boss fight. More of an obstacle in Dead Space 2. And then they do have the final boss fight, I guess. And again, more of an obstacle, definitely a pain in the fucking ass. I'll tell you that right here, right now. They do not stick the landing on that final boss fight. Big problem. So the final boss goes like this. You're on like a platform, fairly big circular platform with like rubble on it that's in your way and sort of a barrier. And then you got the enemy. She's not very big. She's just kind of there. But if she touches you, if you get too close to her, she grabs you and you're dead instantly. So you got to be aware of that. And like kind of every round, once you hurt her enough, you shoot the thing. She goes away, and she'll just kind of pop back up randomly. And there's a couple times she just popped right up in front of me, and I got killed instantly. So that fucking sucked. And on top of that being annoying, she sends out swarms of the little childlike necromorphs. There's like fucking 24 of them. So the only way that I can get through it took me like 8 or 9 tries to get through this boss fight. Now, it was one of those situations where like I tried it a whole bunch of times, didn't happen, turned the Xbox off, and then bam, did it first try the next day. I was like, oh, that was easy. So I don't know, maybe I was in a bad headspace when I was doing it, but it was annoying. They send a whole bunch of enemies. So the best thing that I could figure out to do, because I couldn't change my weapons, I was locked into the weapons. So I had the line gun, my old reliable plasma shooter. I had the pulse rifle cannon thing where I can like shoot a big laser beam. That was kind of my big powerhouse weapon. And then I had the fucking saw blades. So not ideal. It was workable, but not ideal for sure. So I was doing my best to, because these fuckers would just swarm you. They would just come up all around the circle. So they're just big circle that kind of encloses into you. So you kind of have to take a hit to get out of the circle. And then I would just kind of run a lap, get them all swarmed in, try and hit them with a line gun. I only had like 3 shots. And then I would try and shoot into the ground and kind of blast them all away. And it was tough, man. It was tough because if they get to you, they swarm you quick, so you gotta try and get through it. And it was tough, man. It was tough. It was an unsatisfying fight. It wasn't even fun. It wasn't unique. It was just an obstacle. It didn't feel very good at all. So I did not like that boss fight whatsoever. It wasn't fun. And then the ending was like, I was almost like, oh, no, you didn't right there. And then they picked it back up. So the ending was fine, a little generic, but I was like, oh, okay. It definitely made me like, one of the characters a little bit more, so that helped out. The ending was fine, and that's the game. So I beat the game. Like I said, it wasn't very long, and then at the end of it, you get some cool unlocks. I mean, you get the hardcore mode, which there's no fucking way I'm doing that. I think it's like you get 3 saves, and you get bare minimum weapons, ammo, and health, and all that. And yeah, that's not happening for me. You can continue on a New Game Plus where you keep all your weapons and upgrades, and you can just keep going on. In terms of the upgrades, I didn't get anything fully upgraded. It would take you I would say like probably 3 or 4 playthroughs to get everything fully upgraded. So, but I definitely like felt like that's why the length of the game was so good, because I definitely would be like if I was in a different situation, I didn't have so many other games to play, I would so play through Dead Space 2 again. Absolutely. I would totally go through it again on New Game Plus. No doubt at all. And you get like some new armor. I don't know if you get a new weapon or anything. Let me see here. I definitely wrote down that you get a new armor. So you get some new armor, which is nice. And yeah, I thought the game was pretty all right. So overall, we'll go through like the cons and the pros and stuff. So obviously made my opinion known about that difficulty, that late game difficulty spike in the final boss. Wasn't very awesome. So that's we talked about that. And I felt like the story and the characters just wasn't there at all. The story and the mystery of the first Dead Space was way better. Like, you're just kind of going like, okay, something's gone wrong up there. Go check it out, will you? And then you get up there and like, oh my God, it is so much worse than I ever thought. So that's not quite there in Dead Space 2. We kind of already have things established. So it's difficult. It's difficult to grab the horror like the first game does. Ask Resident Evil. I mean, they definitely went to action and then back to horror. So it's tough to grab it every single time. But I still thought it had its solid scares. Other than that, I thought, really, really tight gameplay. Very, very fun to play. I thought, like, just the shooting was so tight, movement was nice. I mean, the mechanics worked really well with the 0G. I was really, really impressed with how tight the controls and everything was. Just really worked. Only like it's not the game's fault that the guns were reloading slow. I could have upgraded that and fixed it. So that was my problem, and it definitely added to a lot of stressful, scary moments. So I thought, that's kind of a positive. The graphics and the atmosphere were great in this game. Looks great, looks terrifying. The lighting is on point. The monsters are terrifying. The sound is great, like we talked about. I mean, all the little noises. You're definitely on edge for a lot of this game. And like I said, it had solid scares in it. I definitely had some good scares, some 8.5 out of 10 on the high end for a scare. So I definitely had some good scares. That was good. And I like the necromorphs. I think like necromorphs might be I think I like them more than any of the Resident Evil zombies. Like, I think the Necromorphs by far are more terrifying. Like, they just have a great design. Now, they didn't go... Like, there's definitely some new ones. Now, some of those new ones were really scary. Like, whatever that thing was that runs around the corners and stuff, that thing is one, that would make my 13 next year's 13 scariest enemies. That thing's gonna be on there. That thing was terrifying. But, they didn't, there wasn't anything that really stood out as like, oh, that's like a really crazy looking necromorph. They all kind of look, they look like necromorphs. They don't really stray away from that look, like that red and white kind of, muscular, turned inside out kind of look, but really solid shit, man. Like, yeah, a lot of good shit about this game. They had a really good foundation to build on. They improved on it as much as they could. Like, Dead Space, a really well-made game. And Dead Space 2, I thought it was really, really good. I'm giving it a 7.5 out of 10. I think it's well worth a playthrough still today. If you are on, excuse me, if you're on Xbox like I was, I think it's on the EA download or something like that. You might be able to download it for free. Regardless, you should be able to find it really cheap. It's a really, really good third-person survival horror. If you love Resident Evil and you're looking for something else, Dead Space, man. If you haven't checked out Dead Space, you're in for a treat. Dead Space 2, I was pleasantly surprised with how into it I got. I was really, really into it. I look forward to playing Dead Space. It was a lot of fun, and I don't know how I'm going to, if I'm ever going to get to Dead Space 3. I know that's a substantially different game, but maybe someday I'll get to Dead Space 3, but that is it, everybody. That is Dead Space 2. Let me know if you've played Dead Space 2 and what you thought about it. Or have I convinced you to try out Dead Space 2? I'm telling you, it's worth it. It's a really good game for Halloween-y time, so if you're looking for something, it's a nice, good length, scary game. Really fun to play, and I think you're going to have a good time. If you're looking for a story, I don't know if you're going to get it here in Dead Space, but I had a really good time with it, and yeah, I would recommend you check it out too. So there you go, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. You guys are awesome. If you want to send in your questions, recommendations, anything like that, there's an email address in the link down below. You can follow along on Twitter or X, whatever the fuck. And there's a YouTube channel as well, YouTube Gamer GX Videos. Again, the link is down there in the description. These get uploaded to that YouTube channel, so if you want to watch them, you can drop comments on the YouTube episodes. That is a great place to leave your questions. If you want them answered live on the podcast, I'd love to do that. That would be a lot of fun. Or you can just send it to the email or anything. Just have a private conversation. That's absolutely fine as well. And yeah, so I think we're going to do one more Halloween scary type episode for the GamerCast. And then I think we'll be heading into November. So going to be looking to hopefully do something for Baldur's Gate here soon, rather than impressions. I doubt I'm going to have a full review for it. I don't know if I'm going to do a full review because it's just such a massive game. It's going to be a very long time before we get to that. Might just do my impressions. I've got about 55 or so hours on it now, so I feel pretty good that I can talk about all of its systems and all that stuff. So going to be doing Baldur's Gate soon at some point, but yeah, send in suggestions. You got a game from your past that you want me to talk about, and I may love to do that. So again, thank you everybody so much for listening. Review the podcast, please, and thank you. That would help out so much. Send in your comments and questions, and we'll be back again soon with more GX Plus Cast.